Hi, I'm Sawyer, a graphic designer learning UI UX from zero, with an AI panel as my mentor. Today it had me learning about visual hierarchy, and as an example, I've got this combat HUD from Hyrule Warriors. There's a lot of things fighting for attention right here, and some are important, some are not, some are really loud, and some are a little quieter. So let's break it down. So here you can see the original screenshot that I took. Actually got it from GameUIDatabase.com, great resource. And I annotated it as per Claude's instructions with numbers showing which things my eye noticed first and a little readout on how loud they were visually and how important they are. So the first thing that came up was this alert. This is the type of thing that pops up on screen. There's a little audible jingle, and it's very central. It's big. It's it's right in your face. It's right where your eye is usually resting, because this is where the player character usually rests. Next thing that caught my eye was the map, and mini-map this group of items. I think it's because of the size of the map plus the contrast, where it has this dark background built in. So no matter what background it's on, you've got this lighter color on this dark background, and there's motion constantly as the player arrows are moving around. It's obviously really important in this game because you need to be capturing bases, and this also tells you the status of the different keeps. So I noticed that next. Now in this clear screenshot, before I blurred it, which I'll talk about in a minute, this rupee, combo, and KO group is the next thing that caught my eye. My eye was already resting on the map, so I just kind of came right down here to this big gold number that during gameplay is constantly changing as you chop through all these hordes of enemies. It's big, it's shiny, it's gold, there's multiple colors going on, it's text, so it draws your eye. And compared to any other text on the screen, it's the biggest. Even compared to the alert, that is really important because it's about the status of a keep. Something interesting about this is that in the blurred example, that chat had me do sort of the squint test, but more technical, my eye actually goes to the player status corner first. I think it's because the brightness of the heart readout. This rupee and combo and KO corner sort of fades in the blurred example. The next thing was the status group, the player status group, where it has your abilities and the players you have access to and your health, and then the boss health bar here. Now, one of the things that I noted, me and Chad had a little discussion. It wanted me to find out which things were maybe mismatched, where visually it was loud, but in order of importance it was quiet. The main thing I pointed out was this boss health bar. This is how the game deals with all boss health bars. It puts it right here. It's kind of small. It's not very attention grabbing, if you ask me. Sure, the red is a sort of loud color, but not every stage will show that contrast. There's a lava stage later in the game where it's not going to be as contrasted against lava as it is against this gray stone. Although a lot of games put boss health bars right in the middle up top, top center. So it kind of led me to some other observations, like how these hearts. This person's obviously a good way through the game because they've got a lot of extra hearts, and in my experience, I believe that the heart bar does stack eventually, where it moves to 2 rows. But this feels like it has not happened soon enough. If you look at just this player status group and where the last element ends before the hearts, it's way back here. And to my eye, the row should wrap right about here and start a new row. Even if you go to 3 rows, 4 rows, whatever, these things have room to move down, and it would feel just a little bit more organized and balanced, and not take up this and not create this weird shape kind of hugged up into the corner but bleeding over to the right. And the reason I even observed that was because if I wanted to move the boss health bar to the center, well, the hearts are kind of in the way. So it led my eye to multiple fixes at once. And Chad pushed back a little bit on this one. Not Chad, Claude. Claude pushed back a little bit on this one because the bosses aren't always the most important thing. But in this context, I would explain the context of this particular screenshot. The win condition we see on the right over here is to defeat King Dodongo. So King Dodongo's health bar is pretty important. If it was just another big enemy with a health bar that, was not quite important or not required to defeat, I could see it being relegated over here. But in this case, if you want to win the game, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Due to my knowledge of the game, I'm also aware that there can be several boss monsters on the field at once, and obviously stacking boss monster health bars in the top center would be problematic. It'd get really loud really fast, or you'd have to start shrinking them. It wouldn't be good. So the solution I had sort of been thinking over as I was discussing things with Claude was that if there is a boss monster where it's directly tied to the win condition like this, then you would just throw it up in the middle. It also argued that the most important thing is probably actually your health in a game like this. So I pushed back on that if the boss health bar was at the top, very central, it would be in very close proximity to the player's hearts. So you kind of keep an eye on both at once very easily, kind of at a glance. It would be a direct comparison, really. And then any other boss level monsters who weren't as important could still be relegated to this area. To that effect, I wrote a little one-pager over here that included my annotated screenshot. This is what Claude requested from me, and I sort of noted the mismatches. I won't go through the whole thing in excruciating detail, but basically, boss health bar was quiet but important. Player status group, I thought that it was also important but kind of quiet, just where everything's so small and jumbled. That's basically what this whole paragraph is about. This first one is how oddly shaped everything is. There's so much going on in here, as far as like you have this vertical one with these decorative ends and this circular one, and then these two that are thinner and dimmer than everything else, and these two different sizes of character icon. It just feels like way too much variation for such a small area, where in other games that I've played, things like abilities could be put in the bottom left where you can see them clearly, because it is important for saying what you're going to do next, because this game is all about using your moves, and this stuff is tied directly to what moves are available, but it just feels very muddy. The last thing that I noted was this EXP bar down here in the bottom right corner of the screen, and how it doesn't really affect decision making at all during the battle. It's something that in my mind could be entirely removed, and then at the end of the level you could see the little XP bar fill up and see what levels you gained. And Claude pushed back for me on this, and for a really good reason. It was the main thing that surprised me during this exercise was that it had me thinking so practically at first. I got into such a rigid practicality mindset that as soon as the EXP bar had no use, I was all for removing it entirely from the screen. But it helped me to shift my perspective and understand that maybe it's not affecting the practical decision making and directly related to the gameplay, but it is a reward to see. It is a pleasure to see. It is helping the game be fun, because as part of the battle, you're watching your character get stronger, gain more experience. So it is positive feedback. It's encouraging you to keep playing. It's making you feel good about what you're doing. And while not quote-unquote practical, it is still good feedback, and it has a positive impact on your gameplay. So that was something that I've had to sort of expand my mind to understand. So that was my first real UX teardown, ranking everything by how loud it was versus important, and noting the mismatches and explaining. The next thing I'm going to be doing is observing how games teach you to play without tutorial text. If you're learning this too, follow along and let me know in the comments what's a game HUD that you think is really good or a total mess. See you next time.